Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you're having a fantastic day. In today's video, I want to take you through an in-depth review of Voluspa Tahitian Coconut Vanilla. I have this in the 5-wick hearth format, but I actually first discovered this fragrance several years ago when it was still a Sephora exclusive. I purchased one of the they have these trios at Sephora with their 1-wick tins. I absolutely love that they do that because it is a wonderful way to sample some of the Voluspa fragrances before committing to a larger, much more expensive size. I will tell you right off the bat that the 5-wick format from Voluspa kind of varies in price a little bit. Usually I feel like the range is somewhere between $235 and $250. I know that I paid $250 for my Noble Fur Garland, but it was also a very unique vessel design. So I think that one was a little bit extra due to the design of the glass jar. Trust me, I didn't mind paying for it. Noble Fur Garland is one of my holiday staples, and I will not be without it. So I was definitely happy to pay that, although I will admit I did get that candle on sale. So I did not pay full price. I rarely ever pay full price for any of my candles. If there is a really expensive fragrance that I want to add to my collection, I will either wait for a sale or wait until I get a coupon code or something like that. I also try to make sure that if at all possible, I purchase from a website where I can get some cash back. I typically utilize Rakuten. So when it came time for me to finally commit to purchasing a larger format of the Tahitian Coconut Vanilla that I fell in love with many years ago via that little sampler trio that I had, I went ahead and waited until around the holidays in 2024. And I think it was either Black Friday or Cyber Monday that Voluspa was offering a 25% off sale. And I think the cashback at that time through Rakuten was like 10%. So I saved a little bit of money on this one, but listen, it was still an expensive investment. I will say at the time that I picked this up, I also purchased a 5-wick hearth of California Summers. I've already reviewed the California Summers, so if you're interested in that, it's also a nice beachy summery scent. I'll go ahead and link that video in the description box right below this video here. Feel free to check that out if you're interested. But yeah, so I purchased 2 5-wick hearths at one whack here, and yeah, that was definitely probably the most that I have ever spent on a single candle order. But I have to tell you, when it comes to candles, I don't mind splurging as long as the fragrance is something that I absolutely adore and that I am really in love with the vessel and that it's something that I would want to, you know, hold on to after actually finishing the candle. So there's a few things that I have in place for myself to make sure that if I'm going to be blowing this kind of money on a candle, that it's really going to be worthwhile for me. So I definitely waited for the perfect opportunity to pick both of those fragrances up, and I have been enjoying them immensely. Both of the fragrances I've been enjoying for a couple of months now. The California Summers did give me a little bit of trouble in terms of the overall burn quality when I first started burning it, but I was able to correct that one and have not had a single issue with that candle since. But that is not the case for this little troublemaker here. I will be telling you guys in depth what I've been dealing with when we get to the overall burn quality portion of the review here. So that'll be towards the end of the video. But if you are newer to my channel, the way that I like to review candles is I like to read through the fragrance description and the fragrance notes. I like to tell you what I actually detect in these scents when I'm burning them here in my house. I like to discuss the strength and the throw, and then actually probably most importantly to me is addressing the overall burn quality. I'm very picky and particular with how my candles burn. If something shows any sign of becoming sooty or anything like that, I find a different use for those candles. Now, this would never fit into one of my candle crocks or even underneath my candle lamp, to be perfectly honest, but I would figure out some other way to be able to enjoy the rest of this wax because, yeah, this is, like I said, this one was an investment here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the scent description, and I'm going to try to explain to you guys as best as possible what this smells like, so that if you have never actually stuck your nose in this one, you have a good kind of expectation in terms of what you're actually going to experience with this fragrance. So let's go ahead and dig in. So the fragrance family that this fragrance falls under is gourmand. I would definitely agree with that. This is very fruity, definitely smells, I would say, borderline edible. The keynotes here are Tahitian vanilla bean, coconut milk, and white peach nectar. However, I want to read through the actual fragrance description because this gives us some additional fragrance notes that I definitely want to reference. So the description reads, travel straight to the tropics and escape to a private island. Tart citrus and white peach nectar are swirled with fresh coconut milk and Tahitian vanilla bean for ultimate bliss. Topped with exotic jasmine and orange flower blossoms and garnished with pistachio creme for an unexpected paradise. So our key notes here are the tart citrus, the white peach nectar, the fresh coconut milk, Tahitian vanilla bean, jasmine, orange flower blossoms, and pistachio creme. So what does my nose actually detect in this fragrance here? Okay, I would say the first notes that really capture my attention are definitely the white peach nectar. And this is a beautiful peach, you guys. It is definitely, I would say, a white peach. White peach is, to my nose, it smells a little different from just the regular traditional like fuzzy peach. White peach, I think, is actually a little bit sweeter than that regular traditional peach that is used in a lot of home fragrance. So I really like this white peach because it does add a lot of sweetness to this fragrance. I do not consider this cloying at all, but it's definitely a sweet fragrance. If you are not a gourmand person, I would skip this altogether because that is basically just straight up what this is. It's just gourmand. You couldn't interpret it really as anything else. The next thing that my nose kind of leads into is that coconut milk that is referenced. But to me, it doesn't really smell necessarily like coconut milk. I smell more so like actual like coconut meat. Like if you were to go purchase a coconut and then crack it in half and stick your nose into, you know, that shell, that is what I'm smelling. It's not overly creamy, if you will. If this was coconut milk, I think it would smell a little creamier to my nose. This just smells like straight up coconut meat, which I am so obsessed with. Like this is my favorite form of coconut, just that true edible coconut meat. Next is definitely that Tahitian vanilla bean. You guys, this vanilla that is in here is absolutely beautiful. It's definitely not French vanilla. I hate French vanilla. So this is very much beautiful, like exotic vanilla bean. Now, after those three key notes there, for me, I don't actually really detect the floral notes that are referenced here, which is kind of interesting. I'm a huge fan of both jasmine and orange flower, but I do not smell either of those floral notes in this scent. So if you are concerned that the floral kind of is taking over in this particular candle, I have not had that experience at all. For me, I do smell the pistachio reference. It's not super potent, but it is there. So it gives this candle just a little tiny hint of nuttiness, which I think actually blends really well with that coconut that I smell in here. So the pistachio creme is definitely something that I do smell. But the citrus is one of those interesting parts of the fragrance here that kind of comes and goes for me. During certain burns, I will swear that I smell like a hint of like almost like a lemonade type note. It's definitely not grapefruit. It's not lime. It's not orange, and it's not straight up lemon. It really is like a lemonade. So a very sweet lemon. But oddly enough, I don't smell it every single burn. And that is something interesting that I have not had happen with other fragrances. Typically, I either smell the note or I don't. And here, I just, for whatever reason, will pick it up sometimes, but not every single burn. Overall, I would consider this a very sweet, very definitely edible, summertime gourmand, and I'm in love with the fragrance. Listen, I'm gonna talk about some problems that I've had with this candle, but I will repurchase this in a heartbeat after I finish it. That is how much I love the fragrance of this. It is beautiful, and I do not want to be without it going forward for, you know, the summers that are to come. I'm actually excited for the weather to continue to warm up here in Oregon, because this is the type of scent that actually makes me appreciate summer. It is tropical, but it's edible. It is one of those where I am constantly getting compliments on this one when we have guests over to our house. People love this scent. So if you're looking for something guest friendly, this is 100% a guest-friendly fragrance, and it's not overwhelming. So that leads me to the strength and the throw. So let's go ahead and address that. The strength of this 5-wick hearth is obviously going to vary from the large jar, from the mini jar that they have available, and even the mini tin. You are going to get the most strength and throw out of this particular fragrance in this format. So in the 5-wick hearth format, the strength of Tahitian Coconut Vanilla is an easy, I would say, it's not quite at a 9. I would say it kind of waffles somewhere between an 8 and a 9. So pretty good strength overall. This is a very noticeable fragrance. If you walk into the room where you're burning this candle, you immediately are hit with the most beautiful, summery gourmand. And it's also a good traveler. So in terms of the throw that this 5-wick hearth gives me, I would put that at, actually, I would give that a 9. In the downstairs of our house, we have a mostly very open concept style. This is a house that was built in the early 2000s. So the vast majority of the downstairs is just kind of open concept. Most of the rooms have wide, super wide openings essentially, and everything just kind of flows into each other. So this fragrance fills the entire downstairs. It even travels into the dining room here. I don't normally keep this candle on this table here in the dining room. I keep it in the kitchen on our island. And from that back part of the house there in the kitchen, this fragrance travels all the way to the front of the house. It even travels upstairs. So I would say this almost fills my entire house, but it absolutely fills the downstairs. So really great strength and throw. But honestly, it would have to be for this size, because I think if it wasn't that strong, I would definitely be disappointed just based on the price point, right? I bought a candle of this size because I want to really experience this scent, and it is giving me that. So strength and throw are also 2 big fat thumbs up for me. I cannot give it enough props for that, especially considering the burn issues that I've had with this little troublemaker. So let's go ahead and address that. So when I first started burning this, the first time that I lit it, it definitely took almost an entire day to mostly pull out. So I'm talking like I burned this candle for 8 hours. Like it's a very long time to have a candle lit. Usually with most of my other candles, I limit the burn to about 3 hours. Some candles like from Kringle, I will burn a little bit longer, but 8 hours is a very long time to burn a candle typically. But with this size, I had assumed, just like with my Noble Fir Garland, that the initial, pull from edge to edge would take several hours. Now at the 8-hour mark, it was already like, I think 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I didn't have a choice. It wasn't fully pulled out, but I had to extinguish it. And I really thought that if I just lit it up earlier the next day, after waking up and heading downstairs, that I could go ahead and light it up, and that maybe it would then pool to the edge. I was very hesitant to blow the candle out, but I could kind of tell that it really wasn't gonna budge much beyond where it had pulled out to. So I still had this big ring of wax that was not melted, right? So I went ahead and lit it up again. I had the candle lit for like 9 or 10 hours the following day, and unfortunately, because wax does seem to have a memory, it never pulled out completely, and it just continued to tunnel. And that is problematic in my eyes, because the wicks with Voluspa they start out pretty short and they stay pretty short. These are candles whose wicks I do not ever have to trim regardless of the format, because they seem to be self-trimming for the most part. So basically there was nothing for me to do to try to correct the candle other than cutting that ring of wax out. But before doing that, I thought I would go ahead and email Voluspa and just be like, hey, is there something else that you would recommend for me to go ahead and try to fix this candle? And they were like, nope, that candle, I sent them a picture as well, and they're like, no, that candle is burning perfectly. And I was like, oh, no, it's not, it's tunneling. And so I found that response to be a little annoying. And they sent me a whole sheet about candle care, and I was like, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. I know how to properly burn my candles. I know that you should wait for them to fully pull out. But, I burned this thing for many, many hours, and it was just not doing it. And the lady that was communicating with me said, just leave it, and the rest of that wax will eventually join the wax pool. And I said, no, I understand that is likely what will happen, but my wicks are really short, and it is going to drown this candle, and I'm not going to be able to even access my wicks if any of this wax decides to melt and join the wax pool that's currently happening. And so after that, I actually did not hear back. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna see if I can fix this myself. So I decided to just cut that ring of wax out. And then the following burn, I let it go for like 10 hours, you guys. It went forever, but it still wanted to continue to tunnel. I think the best thing for me to do is to show you guys the overhead view now so that you can see what I'm working with here. But also keep in mind, despite the fact that what this looks like it is still giving me that amazing strength and throw. So that's really the only reason why I would say that I would absolutely hands down repurchase this immediately after finishing it, because even though it is being a little bit problematic, I'm still having a good overall experience with it. But let me show you guys. I lit this probably 3 hours ago, so it has not fully pulled out yet. You'll be able to see that. But can you see how no matter what, I am having to continue to cut this part of the candle here? I've done it a couple times now actually, where I have removed the wax, because as you can see, those wicks are pretty short. And that's normal. Listen, that is normal with a Voluspa, but it is problematic with this one because, again, as this wax sometimes does melt just a little tiny bit, it really floods the wax pool that's currently happening, and it is causing these wicks to get even shorter. So what I'm doing is, as I'm burning this and as the wax is remaining on the side here that you can see, I'm scooping that out periodically every few burns, and I'm just using that wax in my Scentsy warmers. So I'm still getting some life out of it. If you are familiar with Voluspa, you know that they use a coconut wax blend, which is really soft. So it's very easy to get that wax out, and it melts very easily in my 25 watt Scentsy warmers. So I'm enjoying that little bit of wax that I'm not able to use by burning the candle by just melting it somewhere else, which is the only reason why I haven't really escalated anything with Voluspa. So all that being said, this one has been problematic, but I've been able to work with it. I don't love having to babysit a candle, but I'm willing to do it for something like this because, like I said, this is a fragrance that I've been lusting after for a long time. So I feel like it's worth it here, but I can understand why other people would be like, yeah, I don't want to mess with that, which is why I wanted to make sure that you guys really understood what I was dealing with this one. Now, the California Summers also kind of wanted to tunnel at first, but I feel like that one pulled out a lot more for the first burn. So I feel like that one was actually able to correct itself once I removed that extra ring of wax. I mean, it was a very thin rim of wax. It was not as wide as it is here with the Tahitian Coconut Vanilla. So anyway, all that being said, do I still think it was worth blowing, I don't know, what did I pay, like $180 or something like that? Do I still think it was worth spending that much money? Yeah, I love it. Listen, this is a fragrance that really makes me happy. I would not expect other people to, you know, be as forgiving. It kind of depends on how you feel about the scent, obviously. But for me, this is really special. It's something that I would like to be a signature summer scent in my home. So this is worth it for me. But I wanted you guys to be aware that if you do order this, there might be a chance that yours does the same thing. My recommendation really is with these 5-wick hearths is that you light it on a day where you can literally give it 10, potentially even up to 12 hours to fully pull out if that's what it needs. I really thought that 8 to 9 hours would be more than enough, but obviously not with this one. So anyway, for what it's worth, those are my thoughts on Voluspa Tahitian Coconut Vanilla. I love it. I will continue to repurchase it, but I think the next one that I get, I'm definitely gonna make sure that I can dedicate an entire day if I need to when I'm lighting it for the first time, because that wax memory is real, especially with this one. Anyway, I know this review was a little bit longer, but I really wanted to do a deep dive into the problems that I've had with this one, because I would hate for someone else to get this candle and then, you know, not be willing to deal with this and not be aware that this could potentially be a problem. I hope that this review was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. If you are newer to my channel, please subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.